Can we take a moment here to, as a collective group on YouTube, Facebook, and X, can we all take a second to just appreciate Zack Wheeler? I know that we all understand Zack Wheeler's an incredible pitcher. I know that we all can acknowledge the fact that, yes, Zack Wheeler, along with Kyle Schwarber, are the only two Philadelphia Phillies to make the All-Star game. All right, great. Zack Wheeler, I was thinking about it last week. I think I started to float this idea out there, and I've seen other people floating it, so this is by no means a Russ Joy exclusive or a Rustradamus thing. I thought back about all of the great pitchers that I have watched, not just for the Phillies, but in all of Major League Baseball over the last few decades. And then I did kind of hone back in on the Phillies. And I thought to myself, have we seen a more impactful starting pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies over an extended period of time than Zack Wheeler? Now, you're not going to get me to go back to Carlton and Roberts and Grover Cleveland Alexander. I'm not going back there, guys. Way before my time. And I'm not even going to try to go back to the early days of Schilling as a Philly. Not going there either. I'll go back to the heyday. I will go back to the pinnacle of Phillies fandom. And that was the 2008 through 2011, 2012 teams. Those were the teams where we got to see Cole Hamels become ace quality. We got to see the Phillies go out and get Cliff Lee, who pitched like a demigod, right? In the 2009 postseason, going to a World Series, nonchalantly grabbing the ball out of the air. We got to see some great Cliff Lee years as a Philly. We got to see the Phillies bring in a Cy Young winner in Roy Halladay, who was by far the best pitcher in Major League Baseball at the time. We got to watch him throw a perfect game against the Marlins. We got to watch him throw a no-hitter in the playoffs against the Reds. I never thought in my life I would see another pitcher as dominant as Roy Halladay. I thought it would actually, the mere notion of having a pitcher wearing a Phillies uniform being better than Roy Halladay would have been sacrilege to say, and yet, Zack Wheeler is the best starting pitcher I have ever watched in a Phillies uniform. At least since I've been able to understand what sports are. So I'm not going to include when I was a wee little lad. Wheeler is the most dominant pitcher. He is the best Phillies starting pitcher to put on the red pinstripes. He is pitching right now at a level that very few ever have. And I don't just mean Phillies history. I mean overall. I mean in decades across Major League Baseball. He has been nothing short of incredible. And he's doing it for a team that continues to have a very up and down lineup, one that has largely underwhelmed. And he's done it for a team that has had World Series expectations from the moment he got here until even now. Now, we might disagree about how realistic the Phillies' opportunity is going to be to make a World Series, to win a World Series this season. But he's doing it as the ace of the staff. Remember, he supplanted a guy who had been the opening day starter many years in a row in Aaron Nola. He's been able to remain the staff while guys like Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez have looked otherworldly as well. And yet it still feels like there's an entirely different level that Wheeler is pitching at. You watch Sanchez and Suarez at any given time and you go, holy shit, these guys are legit number ones on a bunch of staffs in Major League Baseball. Wheeler, the gap between Wheeler and even Suarez and Sanchez is pretty damn big. And then it's those guys. And then there are a lot of other pitchers. And then Nolan, Jesus Luzardo, and that. But let's focus on the positives. Zack Wheeler's been incredible. And I very, very, very rarely find myself pulling for a player to win a player award, right? I was pretty outspoken about wanting to see Saquon Barkley get to break the rushing record and maybe winning league MVP. But in the case of Zack Wheeler, I want this guy to win a Cy Young. I almost lost power. We might lose the show here pretty soon. I don't know if I've ever wanted to see a player win a Cy Young the same way that I want to see Zack Wheeler win one. And I think part of what's doing it now is knowing that we have Wheeler for a very finite period. He's now reiterated that when this contract runs out, that's the end for Zack Wheeler as a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. So when you start to see that horizon, when you start to see the sun setting in the distance and you realize there's only so much road left, and you see a guy who's pitching at this level, you want to see him win that award. Do I want the Phillies to win the World Series? Of course. Do I want them to win that more than to see Zack Wheeler win Cy Young? Yes. But given that I'm not exactly bullish on the Phillies winning the World Series, I would certainly take Zack Wheeler winning a Cy Young as a consolation prize right now. Because make no mistake about it, he has not just exceeded expectations, he's blown them out of the water. He has been everything that you've ever wanted an ace to be. And unlike Halladay, who was incredible, Wheeler has done it for a much longer period of time. He will easily make the Wall of Fame. He will easily have a case to make the Hall of Fame. And by the time we all look back on this team in, like, let's say 2050, and we're talking about the best pitchers to ever play in our lifetimes, I think you're going to see a lot more people put that name Zack Wheeler ahead of guys that we thought it would almost be insane to think about in Lee and Halladay. Because of the period that he's done it as a member of the Phillies, to me, he now becomes the de facto number one that I've ever watched as a Phillies pitcher. Again, you can go back to like when I was a wee little lad or before I was born, but from let's say the early 2000s till now, oh yeah, Zack Wheeler, he's that guy.